Welcome to the Deal by Me podcast, where we ask guests to tell us your story. Hello there. This is Dr. James W. Smith, your host. We seek to transform lives by encouraging and inspiring. Someone encouraged and inspired this host, a former lawyer, gambler, inmate, and his life was transformed. Same can happen to you. So when you listen to any of the Deal by Me podcasts, please support this podcast with a donation or a monthly recurring amount for as little as $3. If you're viewing any of the podcasts on YouTube, please subscribe. To supporters of this podcast, we say thank you. Check out my encouraging, inspiring, and transforming books. I'm available for speaking engagements, in person, and virtual seminars. So please contact me through my website, www.dealbyme.com. I have with me Denise Dielwart, whose journey from the depths of despair to rediscovering joy inspired her to help others. She has guided thousands to reclaim their lives from grief using her unique flow method that dramatically shortens the healing process from years to months. Her flow method isn't just about coping, it's about transforming your life and rediscovering joy in a way that's both profound and lasting. Oh, I'm happy to have Denise come and share with listeners of this podcast. Denise, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're being interviewed from?
Well, thank you so much for having me on and allowing me the opportunity to share my story. I'm coming from Australia. I'm in Australia, so the other side of the world to where you are. And yeah, my story begins really in 2009 when my husband passed away suddenly. I was only 51 at the time, and he was 55. We were just in the prime of our life. Our kids had moved out. We were starting that second phase of our life and enjoying it, really
Mhm,
loving each
mhm.
other's company and really enjoying our life. And then he went to work and basically he didn't come home.
Oh, wow.
He um, he collapsed at work, was rushed to hospital, was actually flown to hospital by Royal Flying Doctors because we lived rural. So
Mhm.
the nearest big hospital was 8 hours drive away. So it was a way away. And he died of a blood clot.
Mm.
He was getting better. He wasn't expected, to die. And he died of a blood clot. I got a call at home because I wasn't with him because I had to keep, the house going and the businesses going and everything when he died.
Mm.
I just got a call from the hospital to say that he had died.
Wow.
As you as you can imagine, that sent me into a complete spin.
I can I can feel that. I want
Yeah.
to let you know that I really read, reviewed, and really just kind of let it seek in. Your profile is very profound and interesting, intriguing, and compelling.
Thank
So
you.
and it's one that I'm glad that I asked you to come on this podcast, especially with what you've gone through, and you fit directly into what I like to share with listeners of this podcast because I'm about encouraging, inspiring, and hopefully transforming. And your story fits right into what I want to do. So I understand your marriage. I understand how you lost your husband and the life that you all lived together and having met at the age when you were just 16 years of age. I know that's very, very young. So tell listeners of this podcast, how did your husband's passing and I want them to know, I want them to feel personal. I think his name was Martin, as you've said it. To, how did the name Martin, your husband passing, affect your, identity and sense of self? And especially since you were only 16 years of age when y'all got married. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Well, when he died, I realized, and you know, that I didn't know who I was,
Okay.
because we were both children when we got married. Let's face it,
Mhm.
we were both children bringing up children, each other, and other children as well. So I lost Denise in that whole life that I had, and I realized that that life was over. That life
Mm,
was not coming back. He was not coming back. And I had to recreate and reimagine
mm,
a new life for myself. Who am I now? Who am I now? And it took work. It took work. It took inner
mhm,
work for me to actually rediscover that person, that woman inside of me. Not the mother, not the wife,
mhm.
not not the friend, but who is Denise?
Okay.
So when you say how did it affect my life, it affected my life in a profound way, profound way.
Okay. Okay. Um, I know that it was sudden death, and could you kind of share the story of the two of you? You know, uh, how did you kind of meet? Listeners want to know the details. We're interested. How did you meet, and what, and now that he has passed, you know, how has that impacted you? And did y'all have children? And I may have read that in your profile. I'm not sure, but and if so, how many did you have?
Absolutely. Our story, I met at my best friend's 16th birthday party. There was this guy sitting in the corner just staring at me. And I stopped
Okay.
staring at me. What are you looking at? Yeah, then he just started hanging around. And the funny thing is that I didn't particularly like this guy. I didn't,
Mhm.
I thought, you're weird. I don't like you. But we ended up getting married.
Mm,
He didn't even propose. I was never proposed to. It was never a day when he said, "Oh, would you like, should we get married or anything?"
mhm.
We just got married. We just set a day, and we got married. So that's
Uh,
how we met.
How
And
how old was he?
Martin was 21,
Okay.
21 when
Okay.
we got married, and I was 18 by the time we got married. So we were
Uh,
together for about 2.5 years, and then we got married. So he was 21, I was 18 going on 19.
uh,
So young children, I look back at
uh,
18,
yeah.
19-year-olds now and I go, oh my goodness, I was married at
Mm,
that age.
mm. How old were you when he passed?
I was 51. I was
Okay, so
51.
you had a nice long life together, enjoyed lots of moments together. So it must have been. I can feel that in your talk and from reading your profile
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that obviously it really affected you. Could you describe your darkest moments in the aftermath of your loss and how you cope with
Absolutely. Yeah,
all these
absolutely.
overwhelming moments, yeah, and emotions? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. You know, when somebody that's been your best mate, that's been part of you for so long, is suddenly not there, there's a huge void. And I didn't
Mhm,
know how to fill that void. The pain, the ache, the longing, the loneliness is unbearable. It really is. And I remember locking myself in my walk-in closet in the dark and just rocking in a fetal position, screaming, just screaming. Um, there were times when I would sit squeeze myself in. I don't know how the hang I did it, but I did it. I would squeeze myself between the toilet and the wall, that little gap between the two. I would squeeze myself in there
mhm,
and just rock
mm,
and just rock. Um, and that was really self-soothing myself because I didn't know what to do. I I didn't know either that there was a thing called widow's fog or brain fog, which you get when, or even when you lose a child. It's grief fog, really, that you start losing your mind. You start forgetting things. You start repeating yourself because your body shuts down. You absolutely shut down. But when we're going through those emotions, we don't realize that. We're just going through the emotions,
Right.
feeling loss.
Well, you're amazing. I must admit that. And I wonder and I feel it, but I know I can't express it like you or express it because you went through it, but you share it in a way that make others really see it, and not only see it but feel it, and that's what's important, especially as you share with folks who may be dealing with some of the same issues. I know you talk about a flow method, and I'm gonna give you the opportunity to kind of tell us what it means in a moment. But what I want to do now is just ask you to explain the significance of the flow method that you talked about and how it helped you navigate through your grief.
Absolutely. So my flow method is something that I created out of my own loss.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't something that I bought or I learned or I invested in. It was created out of my own loss. I realized after going to counseling, going to therapy, I had a psychologist, I joined groups, I read books, I did it all, that it wasn't helping me. It just wasn't helping me. I would feel good when I was sharing my story with people. And in Australia, we don't even have grief share. So I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't do that. So I struggled. I struggled because I wasn't getting better.
Okay.
And I remember speaking to my psychologist, and she said to me, "How are you feeling? What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm really not getting any better. When am I going to start feeling better?" And this would have been 6 months into my journey.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me, "Denise, you've lost your husband. This is going to take you between 5 and 7 years. Grief takes time, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to go through the 5 stages to get to the end." And that really freaked me out. On the way
Okay.
home, I screamed and screamed and screamed. And that's when I say I got this download of I need to heal me. I need to heal. And how am I going to do that?
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing the inner work on myself. Who are you, Denise? At
Okay.
51, you don't even know who you are.
Mm.
And that's how I started my journey, my inner journey in rediscovering who I am.
Okay. Okay. Now, having asked you that question, could you share with listeners of this podcast what the flow method is? I assume when you put flow, those letters mean something. So, kind
Oh,
of talk to listeners of this podcast because they're going to want to know, and then I'm going to ask you a little bit more how they can learn more about you. And you can tell us that, but I want to know now, what does it stand for? I know it's got to stand for something.
it stands for healing yourself.
Okay.
But it's an acronym. You quite rightly say it's an acronym. The
Okay.
first, out of my own healing, I realized that the very first step in any healing is to feel,
Okay.
and that's the F.
All right.
If we don't feel our pain, we don't feel those emotions, we cannot let go. There's the
Okay.
L.
Okay.
And while we're hanging on to them and we're not letting go of the emotions of the pain, we can't overcome. We can't even start imagining to overcome. And if we can't do that, we can't become whole. We can't reimagine our life. We can't create a new life for ourselves.
Okay. Mm.
So we have to feel. And feeling is not just feeling sad. Oh, I've had a bad day today. It's the emotions beneath that. What are you truly feeling?
Hmm.
You know, those are my dark hours when I used to go and lock myself in my walk-in closet because I was absolutely feeling the pain. I was feeling the emotions. What am I feeling?
Mm, okay. Mm, I hear that.
Yeah.
Powerful, powerful. Denise, folks who may be listening to this podcast go through a lot,
Yeah.
and they're going through a lot. They're suffering. Some may be suffering pain. Some just need a word as to how they can get through whatever they're going through. And you know what's happening in society. I don't have to tell you. You know, there are all kind of circumstances and situations that folks have to deal with day in and day out. You had the loss of a loved one. I'm certain that somebody who's listening to this podcast been gone through the same thing. Uh, and there are other things that happen. Can you share an encouraging word, a word of inspiration that may help to transform somebody's life who has gone through something similar to what you have gone through?
Absolutely. The first thing is to just be. Now, what does it mean to just be? Is to not judge ourselves and to look at the pain and go, oh, I'm going through so much pain. It's to start saying, well, ask yourself better questions. How can I move through this? What am I feeling now? Truly start feeling that. Because we all go through pain. We all go through situations. The world is upside down at the moment, as you so rightly said. The world is completely upside down. And when we presented with situations, we tend to shrink. We tend to go within. Oh my goodness, this is happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's not fair. Why me? Instead, say, why not me? Where's the gift in this? This is happening for me, not to me. And that's where the growth comes from. That's when we become the hero of our journey and not the victim, not the victim of our circumstance. We need to become the hero of our journey.
Mm. Well said. Well said. I know listeners really appreciate that. You've been, you're just so forthright, and I'm just enjoying talking to you today. You, you're amazing, as I said earlier. Uh, Very compelling, and I love it. I just love how you are presenting this today because there are just so many folk out there who have not necessarily gone through exactly what you've gone through, but there's still pain in their lives. You know, hold on, listeners, don't go anyplace. Hang around just a little while longer because we're going to come back. But first of all, I want to ask uh, Denise if listeners of this podcast would like to learn more about you, get information about uh, what you do, a website, a book, or your method. Could you talk a little bit about that with them right now?
Absolutely. So the quickest and easiest way is to connect with me through my website. It's flowgriefacademy.com. On my website, there's all the different links to what I do, how you can actually book a call with me. There's a link there to book a call with me if you want to have a chat and see if I can help you and if you're ready for the kind of help that I offer. Um, there's also, if you want to help others, there's a link there to my Academy of Transformational Grief Coaching, where I now teach others how to basically pass the baton on and help others to reimagine their life and become a flow transformational grief coach, a certified coach using my method. So there's a lot of help out there. I truly believe that we when we help others, we heal ourselves as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that so very much. As I'm sitting here thinking about you, your story, and what you have gone through, I do want to ask you this. What a specific event or moment made you realize that you needed to embark on a journey of self-healing and transformation?
Mm.
That it's that hits me because that's what I'm about.
Yeah, absolutely. It was after struggling. I was feeling so lost, as you know. I didn't know which way was up, and it was when I was already going for help. I thought I was
Mhm.
getting the right help by seeing a psychologist, and it was after she said to me that this is going to take me 5 to 7 years. I was only 51. I didn't want to become a. My first thought is 5 to 7 years. I worked out the math. I thought, my goodness, I don't want to become a lonely old cat lady. That was my fear.
Mm,
I don't want to become bitter. I don't want to become twisted. And I know that Martin wouldn't have wanted that for me. He would have wanted me to go on living and loving, enjoying my life,
mm,
with or without him. That was my pivotal moment. That's when I realized I have to do this. I have to invest in me and do the inner work.
mm. I love that. I love it. So how do you approach helping someone who is deeply, entrenched in their grief
Mm.
and seem to be unable to see a way forward? They're just so down as a result of what has happened because of this loss. How do
Mm.
you help them?
The first thing is to give them space, is to
Mm,
not is to help them not repeat their story.
okay.
Because
Mm,
when we repeat our story, we're building our neural pathways into that, and that becomes our identity.
mm,
So the first thing is to give them space, allow them to vent, allow them to scream, allow them to feel, to really feel that,
mhm,
and not give them advice. Oh,
mm.
you're going to be okay. Don't worry. You'll feel better in a year's time. Don't give that kind of advice.
Okay. I got you. I hear that. That's it, very interesting. I love it. I see exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah.
My last question to you is: can you talk about a specific breakthrough or moment of relief you experienced
Yeah.
during your healing journey? I,
Oh, absolutely. I remember that. I remember that so well. I'm a bubbly, laughing, happy person. I always have been. That's just who I am. That's my
Mhm,
nature. But after Martin passed away, I became the shell of myself. I never laughed. I saw no joy in the world.
mhm,
What's the point? That saying, what's the point, became my mantra. Oh, what's the point? Oh, what's the point? Um, and I remember when I started my journey, and it's an inner journey, and I started, really going within and questioning, what do I believe? Who am I? What do I want for myself, etc. And that's all the work I do with my clients in the Flow program. And I was at a barbecue with my children and my grandchildren. I
mhm.
have 3 kids, 9 grandkids, and now 3 great grandchildren. So, I've got this big family around me now, which is amazing. But I remember at a barbecue, it would have been about 4, 5, 6 months after Martin passed away, after I started the inner work. And one of the kids did something funny. I cannot tell you what they did, but everybody erupted in laughter,
Mm,
including me,
okay.
including me. I didn't
Mm.
just sit there. I had this big, deep belly laugh from the pit. You know, when you have that belly laugh
Oh
where
yeah.
you just crack up.
Oh yeah.
And that was my aha moment, because it shocked me, because like, oh my God, I just laughed. Oh, I just laughed. Because that's the body's reaction, that's the
Mhm,
release.
mm.
And that was my I'm going to be okay moment. That was my I'm going to be okay moment.
Well, it's obvious that you have broken through. That's very obvious from your conversation. And I just want to let you know how much I appreciate you sharing it with listeners of this podcast. And again, I want to just Thank you so very much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to share, because this is my mission. This is my life's mission now, is to help others that are grieving and to let them know, hey, this happened. It's horrible,
Mm,
but
mm,
you are still alive.
mm.
Enjoy
Well,
your life. Enjoy the rest of your life.
well said.
Yeah.
And there you have it, Denise Dielwart, who I will just say overcame her pain, came whole again, and in doing so, has developed a flow method. Feel, let go, overcome, and be whole. Very interesting. Please check it out, and I know you will truly enjoy listening to what she has to say. And until next time, peace and blessings be with each of you.